of the Memphis and Shelby County Land Use Control Board. Thank you. My name is Mary Sharp, and I will be serving as your chair. We will begin this morning's meeting with the roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Fleming?
Here.
Mr. Gill?
Here.
Ms. O'Connell?
Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Dr. Pritchard?
Here.
Ms. Wilbanks?
Here.
And Chair Sharp.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. I would like to remind you that copies of today's agenda are located at the front of this room if you need them. If you wish to be a speaker on any case that is on today's agenda, please fill out an attendance speaker's card located at the front podiums. Once you have filled out the card, please bring it up front and hand it to one of our DPT staff members located up front. When that agenda item is called, you will be given an opportunity to speak. At this point, I would like to read our conflict of interest statement. The adopted policy of the Land Use Control Board requires that any member of the board recuse himself or herself from any participation in the discussion or voting on any matter on the meeting's agenda in which he or she may have direct or indirect personal interest. The member shall vacate his or her seat during deliberation on any matter from which they have recused themselves. An abstention may substitute for a recusal for the purposes of maintaining a quorum. I would now like to get approval of our minutes from the last meeting. May I please have a
I
motion?
so move, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion on our minutes from the last meeting? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Are there any director's remarks today?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Ragsdale, may I please get a secretary's report for this month and an explanation of today's procedures?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a secretary's report, but I do want to note a couple of things on the agenda. Item number 9 is being converted from a rezoning to a planned development, so that's why it will not be heard today, and it'll be heard on a future agenda as a planned development. We did have 2 cases that were withdrawn, item number 11 and item number 13. And so those are the changes to the agenda. And then just to note, as we can kind of tell, the acoustics in this room are much better than what we're used to. And so just want to make sure that everyone, when you want to speak, hit the button to make sure the light's green, and then you hit it to turn it off when you're not speaking. And we will figure the room out, but I think we've got everything ready to go. And if we have any technical difficulties, we'll work with those. So,
Okay.
all right. And so the procedure of today's meeting will be as follows. At the beginning of today's meeting, we will establish a consent agenda for those items where no one in the audience or on the board is requesting an individual public hearing. After the consent agenda is established and approved, we will move on to the regular agenda. For each case on the regular agenda, the DPD planner will give a presentation. This will be followed by the applicant's presentation and any testimony from others who support the application. The applicant and supporters will be given a total of 10 minutes. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Next, the opposition will be given a total of 10 minutes to present their case. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Finally, the applicant will then have a 3-minute rebuttal period under the same rules. Following all the presentations and after all parties have been heard, the chair will ask if the board members have any additional questions of anyone who spoke. Then the chair will close the public hearing portion of the case, entertain a motion on the matter, discuss, and then vote on the application. If an applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing portion of the case, or if a board member wishes to hear any additional testimony from any party for additional clarification, a motion will need to be made along with a second, and then a 2/3 affirmative vote of the board is required to reopen the public hearing portion of the agenda item. If the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and the opposition will be allowed an equal amount of time to provide additional testimony. After the additional comments, the board will close the public hearing portion of the case and deliberate and take the final vote. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a case, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card. These are available at the front podium. Speaker's cards are not required of applicants since their names are already part of the record.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. The board is a supporter of community involvement, and we welcome neighborhood comments and feedback. We are respectful of the fact that many of you have taken off work or adjusted your schedules to be here today, but we ask that your comments be made within the time frame allowed. If there are multiple speakers, please try not to be repetitive so as to make the most of your side's 10-minute time allotment. Lastly, I'd like you to silence all your cell phones so as not to interrupt or disturb anyone during today's proceedings. Now we will move to the consent agenda. With our procedures now explained, I would like to introduce to my right Ms. Lisa Wilbanks, who will be this morning's consent agenda. Ms. Wilbanks will read items number 1 through 21 as the consent agenda. Once the consent agenda is read, if you wish to discuss one of those items individually, please come forward and give us the item number and we will pull that case. We will then vote on the remaining consent agenda items as one vote, and following the vote, we will hear the cases that were pulled individually. Ms. Wilbanks, would you proceed, please?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 1, case RC 2023-001 in Glenview. The request is a residential corridor revocation to allow a neighborhood market at 1516 South Parkway East. Staff recommendation is approval. Item number 2, case MJR 23-32 in White Station. The request is a major modification to construct approximately 30-foot by 30-foot cremation retort facility at 5668 Poplar Avenue. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 3, case MJR 23-33 in Eads. The request is a major modification to a conceptual layout to part of Area A of the Rockgate Center PD at the southeast corner of US Highway 64 and North Reed Hooker Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 4, case MJR 23-34 in Berclair. The request is a major modification to approve a site plan per outline plan conditions for a Valvoline in the parking lot of 4500 Summer Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 5, case PD 23-013 in Cordova. The request is a planned development to allow a 16-lot single-family residential development at the southeast corner of Cordova Road and Dexter Lane. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 6, case PD 23-014 in Cordova. The request is a planned development to allow a 128-lot single-family residential development located on 50.25 acres southeast of Rocky Point Road and Sanger Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 7, case PD 23-016 in Frazier. The request is a planned development to allow a self-storage facility at 1674 Delano Avenue. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 8, case SUP 2023-014 in Glenview. The request is a special use permit to allow a convenience store without gas sales in the residential urban 1 zoning district at 1560 South Parkway East. Staff recommendation is approval. Item number 12, case PD 23-07 in Westwood. The request is a planned development to allow the uses of a food truck, enclosed seating area, and a shipping container where not permitted in the commercial mixed-use 3 zoning district, and the continued use of a billboard as the principal structure at 4409 3rd Street. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 14, case PD 23-18 in Bartlett adjacent. The request is a planned development to consolidate 2 parcels and allow an existing building and parking on the parcel to the rear at 2000 Sycamore View Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 15, case S23-032 in Raleigh. The request is a 2-lot major residential re-subdivision of Lot 53A in the Raleigh Manor subdivision at 4559 Plato Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 16, case S2023-033 in Speedway Terrace. The request is a 5-lot townhouse major re-subdivision at the southeast corner of Faxon Avenue and Baldwin Boulevard. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions and 1 waiver. Item number 17, case S23-034 in Southeast Memphis. The request is a 2-lot major commercial re-subdivision of Lot 4 in the Foxgate Plaza subdivision at 2734 South Mendenhall Road. Staff recommendation is approval. Item number 18, case S23-035 in New Chicago. The request is a 3-lot major residential re-subdivision of a portion of lots 8 and 9 of the Cote and McDowell subdivision at 1046 Pierce Street. Staff recommendation is approval with 1 condition. Item number 19, case SAC 23-02 in North Memphis. The request is to close and vacate the alley between 130 Keel and 707 North 2nd Street. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 20, case SAC 23-03 in Midtown. The request is to close and vacate the alley west of South Bellevue Boulevard between Madison Avenue and Monroe Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 21, case SAC 23-06 in Hedgemore. The request is to close and vacate Minden Road between Graham Street and St. Andrews Fairway. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 22, case SE 23-03 in Midtown. The request is a special exception to the parking setback requirements of the Midtown Overlay District, requesting a reduction in the 10-foot rear parking setback abutting a single-family use at 1162 Peabody Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 23, case SUP 2023-018 in East Memphis. The request is a special use permit for a bar at 1607 Getwell Road. Staff recommendation is approval with 1 condition. Item number 24, case SUP 23-019 in the airport adjacent area. Request is a special use permit to allow a convenience store with gas sales in the commercial mixed-use 1 zoning district at 2206 East Shelby Drive. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 25, case Z 23-012 in Southeast Memphis. The request is a rezoning of plus or minus 1.6 acres from residential single-family 6 to employment at 5516 and 5530 East Rains Road. Staff recommendation is approval. That is your consent agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. Ms. Wilbanks has read items number 1 through 25 that are on the consent agenda. Anyone now wishing to pull a case from the consent agenda, please come forward and give us an item number. Okay, we pulled item number 10. The items on the consent agenda will now be voted on with 1 vote, subject to the recommendation of DPD. If the consent agenda is approved, only item number 10 will have full independent public hearing. By voting on the consent agenda, each board is affirming that he or she has read the staff report and agrees with its findings, and where applicable, its recommended conditions. Can I get a motion, please?
Yes, ma'am. Move to approve item number 1, case RC 2023-001. Item number 2, case MJR 23-32 as a hold. Item number 3, case MJR 23-33 as a hold. Item number 4, case MJR 23-34. Item number 5, case PD 23-013 as a hold. Item number 6, case PD 23-014 as a hold. Item number 7, case PD 23-016 as a hold. Item number 8, case SUP 2023-014. Item number 12, case PD 23-07 as a, yes. Item number 14, case PD 23-13. Item number 15, case S 23-032. Item number 16, case S 23-23-033. Item number 17, case S 23-034. Item number 18, case S 23-035. Item number 19, case SAC 23-02. Item number 20, case SAC 23-03. Item number 21, case SAC 23-06 as a hold. Item number 22, case SE 23-03. Item number 23, case SUP 2023-018. Item number 24, case SUP 23-019. And item number 25, case Z 23-012.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wilbanks, and thank you for the second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion amongst our board members? Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, we're gonna go to Dr. Pritchard for the regular agenda.
Madam Chair, we will hear agenda item number 10, Z23-011, Frazier, rezoning of plus or minus 0.5 acres from residential urban 3 to heavy industrial, that's H, located on Cornell Street and approximately 750 feet west of Felt Station Road. Staff recommendation is rejection.
Okay, if the applicant would come up front, please, and introduce yourself.
David Bray, Bray Firm, 2950 Stage Plaza North.
Okay, thank you. We'll now hear the case.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brett Ragsdale with the Division of Planning and Development. This case, the planner for this case is Nicholas Waldrop. However, he is out of the office today, so I'll be presenting the case on his behalf. The case before you is Z23-011 at Cornell Street. It's a rezoning in the Fraser area, a request for a rezoning. And I'm not getting the slides. Give me 1 second. For some reason, I can't get the slides to advance, so. It just needed Jeffrey to do something with it. I don't know why, so thank you, Jeffrey. So again, the request is for rezoning of approximately a half an acre from RU3 to IH. The front portion of the lot, a third is RU3, and then the rear portion, 2/3, is already zoned for IH. The site is surrounded both by residential and industrial employment uses. We are recommending rejection primarily due to the request inconsistency with the Memphis 3.0 comprehensive plan and its adjacency to residential. This is a vicinity map showing its location in the city. It is in the northwest corner of Fraser. This is an aerial showing the subject parcel, and you can see the residential to the southwest, and some of the industrial that surrounds it as well, and some open space. This is a zoning map showing where the industrial employment is, as well as the residential and some commercial mixed use to the north. Land use map here shows the multifamily residential and single-family residential land uses, as well as open space, commercial and industrial around the property, subject property. The future land use map shows primarily multifamily neighborhood in the Memphis 3.0 comprehensive plan. And so for that, we have determined that it's inconsistent with the comprehensive plan and recommending rejection. And we feel that it also falls short of the other criteria to be met for approval. And we do believe that the addition of this, while it does have industrial around it, the addition of this would be incompatible with the existing multifamily uses and would not be in line with the future land use. So the conclusions are that we are recommending rejection again, inconsistent with the Memphis 3.0 plan, as well as the Mid-South Resiliency Plan. And with that, I'm open to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. Any questions of Mr. Ragsdale at this time? Okay, is there any opposition to the case before we hear the applicant? Okay, we're ready for your presentation, Mr. Bray.
Can you go back to the surrounding zoning? And I appreciate the fact that the staff put in the comment that they would see where the board might reasonably disagree. The multifamily zoning is to the south, but that's not the access off of Cornell Road.
It had a green light on. I thought it was on. Can you guys hear me now? Okay. So my applicant, he purchased the property a while back, and he has been working to clean it up. It has been a mess. It's been an unofficial dump site apparently for years, with tires and all kinds of other debris thrown on it. If you're familiar with Cornell Road, it's not the only track along that's had that issue. And as he got ready to do something on it, when he purchased it, he thought it was zoned industrial, which 2/3 of it is. But he quickly found out from codes that you can't do anything with that. You can't have a driveway through an RU3 zone property to serve an IH property. So he can't do anything with the property as it's currently zoned. If there were other multifamily developments in that area, this might make sense for that, but it is surrounded by industrial. It is, it's really the only appropriate use for this. I understand the findings of 3.0. We just respectfully disagree with the staff on this. And, you know, this area, especially from this tract moving back towards the west, is industrial uses, and we'd like to be able to use this property. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Henry?
Oh, and my applicant is here.
Okay. Okay,
Okay. I was going with that.
okay. Any questions of Mr. Bray at this time?
Do you wanna speak to anything on it? Okay. Mr. Pigram would like to make a statement, so you need to state your name and your address for the record, and then.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Marciano Pigram, of 707 Cornell Street. It's an industrial property. 600 feet, it's 700 feet in all. 100 feet of it in the front is residential. So I can't get to the back of it because so they said that it's next door to a home, but across the street is a mini storage, and all I was trying to do is store vehicles and hold people's property that I knew, and it's only 100 feet that needs to be rezoned. So they said, well, it's next to a residential. 600 feet is right next to the residential. So why wouldn't that first 100 feet be rezoned? It's not making sense to me, but that's really what I wanted to say.
Could I ask you a question? What's the future use of the property if you were granted the industrial zone?
It depends. We're looking at several different options. One of them would probably be a drop yard, but it's we've got some width restrictions on this. It's a very narrow track, so that would depend. It probably would not be 18-wheelers because of the width, but and we've looked at several other different uses, but they're all consistent with the IH and the EMP zoning, not with RU3.
Are there any other questions?
Well, can I say one more thing? So I detail cars for a living, and you know, a lot of people run me off of their lots for soliciting. So that's why I had bought the property to whereas I can have my clients come out to the area to detail their vehicles. And so my neighbor, Joe Hamilton, I've been owning the property for like 3-4 years, and he just paid the taxes. So he's the only resident on the property. But like I said, it's a mini storage right in front of his property. So I'd be right next door to his property, and he don't have a problem with it. Matter of fact, I watch his 3 acres, you know what I'm saying, while I'm doing my business out there. And we all are, and I'm the only one that has any interest in that street. I'm trying to put the cameras up. I'm getting the bumps, so cause people flying down the street. I'm trying to put the bumps in, so I'm the only one that's trying to make moves, but I'm being denied only 100 feet. I'm not understanding why the first 100 feet is not approved, and the last 600 feet is next door to the property that I'm being rejected on. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Any further questions?
So the part that's zoned residential, there is no house on it.
No, sir. This entire track is vacant.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions?
I do. So if you were to put your detailing business there, is that, would most of the activity be closer to Cornell Street and not the back of the property?
Right, so my neighbor bought a parcel right next door to me. So he has the same length as I do. So my acre and a half would turn into 3 acres. But it was only depending on if I can get it that first 100 acres rezoned. Because the whole neighborhood is, you know, business and truckers and stuff like that. So it's only 100 feet. Y'all. I'm not understanding why only 100 feet. But so I'm sorry. So I'm gonna detail cars in the front, and then they'll just be parking in the back. Ain't no nonsense. It's just parking. So that's why I wanted to rezone. And it's a split. It's like the majority of it is industrial, but only 100 feet is not industrial. So if I don't get this approval, I could just, what do I do with the land? What do I do with it if I don't get this approved? That's all I want.
Any further questions?
This is a question for Mr. Ragsdale.
Okay.
Is that all right? I'm going, so the 100 feet, is that the part closest to these apartments?
Excuse me. It's actually, I don't know the exact distance, but it's the first 1/3, so it's maybe a little bit more than 100 feet, but that's really not important. But the part that is residentially zoned is the part along Cornell.
Oh,
Yeah, so if you can see on the map here, it's, the RU3 is the little, this piece here.
The red line going through
Yeah.
the middle of the track,
Right.
south of that
This
is already
all
industrial. It's the front half, which is what created the problem, because he can't use the rear 2/3 of the property, because
Right.
you can't have an industrial use and take a driveway through residential zone property. That's inappropriate based on the zoning code.
yeah. I was gonna say, if it was the portion closer to the apartments, then he could use the part of the parcel that was closest to Cornell Street where all the industrial is, and then maybe have a buffer
And we
between.
wouldn't be here
Yeah.
if that was the case.
Mm.
Any further questions? Hearing none, we're gonna close the public portion of the meeting. Dr. Pritchard?
Move approval of agenda item number 10, Z 2023-011.
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion?
Would there be a way to approve the use, the industrial use on the parcel, but then just ask that the portion of the lot that abuts the apartments has a buffer?
Mr. Ragsdale?
With a rezoning, you can't condition a rezoning, so, and the portion that is already IH is part of the parcel, but that's continuing to be IH. And so that, with the rezoning, you can't really
Can't do
condition anything.
Can I speak? But to her question, with any site plan that comes forward on this, there is a landscape requirement between industrial zone property and residentially zoned property. So there would be landscaping down there without a condition being added.
Do you know how many feet that is?
Class 3.
It's a class 3C. So it depends, the width, depends on how much landscaping and fencing, but it is the highest level. I think it's class 3. Yeah.
Well, although we can't put the requirement, I would hope that, just being a good citizen, you always leave those thick trees there so they wouldn't see cars being watched and all of this at the rear of the property, if I'm understanding everything.
Yes, sir. And those landscaping requirements would hit both the south line and the east line, because it would be next to residentially zoned property.
I understand that, but
So-
the landscaping requirements, that, you could just plant some more stuff, but right now you have some thick trees.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We would preserve the
Just
trees.
leave them there.
Yes.
And I know
yes.
we can't make that a requirement, but.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
And Madam Chair, I just wanted to make sure to note that we did close the public portion,
Yeah.
but you guys can open it with a 2/3 vote if you would like to.
We've already closed the public portion. What do you want to do? Do you want to, pardon?
Can a member request to hear?
You can request to open the public portion and then he can talk if he wants to.
I'm certainly fine with it, so probably our only case.
Okay, and so which
I'll
person
second.
wants to hear? Okay,
You open it, I'll second.
Okay, I propose we open it up.
okay,
Discussion
now.
One more
who-
time.
Second.
Without objection.
Go ahead, the public portion is reopened. Go
Okay,
ahead.
they had closed, okay. I'm sorry, everybody. All right. So, it's labeled a flood zone, right? So after I done my homework, I think it had flooded, 2018, somewhere around there, that area. The reason why it's a flood zone is because the culvert is clogged from all of the illegal dumping. So I've been collaborating with code enforcement to get the culverts. You know what a culvert is?
Yes.
So I'm sorry, I'm new at this, y'all. Sorry. So I'm trying to get the culverts unplugged to where the water can flow through my property, because it got to cross my property and then go into the drain. The only way I can do that is I gotta get it rezoned. Soon as I get it rezoned, then I can go forward. So this is very important, and I'm finna shut up right now.
Okay, any other questions?
Well, sir, would
Okay.
you mind if we held this for a month until you could get your work done there and unclog it so that it doesn't flood? Would you be
He can
amenable to that?
unclog it.
That's the problem.
He can't.
I can't.
He can unclog it. It's not-
Until we move forward with some sort of site development on this, he can't really get that work done.
He can't do
So it's a chicken and an egg.
Okay.
We need the zoning in place so that he can move forward with site plan and go through city engineering for improvements.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we're going to, again, for the second time, close the public portion of the meeting. We already have a motion on the floor that has been seconded. Is there any further discussion amongst our board members?
Yeah, I just quickly say thanks to the staff for upholding the 3.0. I think you always got to take each case by case. I'm going to support the applicant here. I think if the zoning goes with the land, but in this case, this is a gentleman who's trying to do the right thing. I'm looking at the Google Earth. I think this is a good case to plan to support.
I agree with you. I do too.
Thank you. Okay, we are ready.